There, and there it is. Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today, Micah Lindsay-Brown. How are you?
Really good. I'm really stoked to be on your show. I was just looking at it before, and it's really awesome. Great content.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say so. It's nice to be able to put it out there, and I just love catching up with people I know well, people I don't know so well, and everything in between. So it's great to catch up with you again because we haven't seen each other for a long time, and we spent a mentorship together back in, when would that have been? 14, 15?
Yeah, I think that was one of the big turning points in my life, doing that Kaizen mentorship with you, I think. And actually you picked me up from the airport. You're the first person I met.
That's right. We had that whole journey in the dark from Brisbane Airport all the way out to the Sunshine Coast. That was fun.
Yeah. So I think that was a really powerful, from being a personal trainer to becoming a holistic coach. That was like the turning point of, a whole, a couple of years of thinking you had it right and into, overhauling how you did and everything. And from there, it's still been an evolution. But that was like a really significant step in my coaching journey.
Yeah. Well, I was going to kind of introduce that. So you're a PT, you're a health coach. You are a New Zealand Personal Trainer of the Year, no less.
Haha. Am I in good company here?
Yeah. 2013, is that right?
2013, yes, that is correct, because my daughter was born 3 weeks prior to receiving that award. So I had a post-baby tummy, giant boobs, feeding this little tiny 3-week-old baby in between awards and meals, and so it was quite a memorable but awesome occasion.
Yeah. Oh, well done, fantastic. I put a big question mark by that year and I got it right, so I'm pleased with that.
You did.
That's not all. The list carries on. So and you're also a New Zealand beach volleyball representative, and you have recently just won the national champs earlier this year. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I'm no longer representing New Zealand. Like, I stopped that I was actually trying to get to the Commonwealth Games, and I was the team that missed out. And so that led me on to go, right, I'll have another child, and that's okay. I can let go of needing to go any further, but I'm still super competitive. So I really, I still want to compete at the New Zealand level. I just don't need to go overseas and try and get a medal or anything like that. But me and another local lady from Taranaki won the New Zealand, it's called the Tour Championship, which means that there's 5 big events, and whichever team does the best over those 5 events gets this, grand trophy. So that's what we achieved. And, I don't want to take it away from anyone else, because there are New Zealand athletes that are, way more primed than I am, and are overseas, going for the Olympics right now. However, it just turned out that over the 5 events, there was a couple of injuries, little things like that the stars aligned, and we played great, that we got, to win that trophy. So it was a pretty special moment.
Awesome work. And the other interesting fact about that is that you were the most senior of all the teams.
Yes, it's so, I hate that. And every little article that gets written, or there's a recent magazine article, it likes to be the title, combined age of 84 or something like that, to be like the headline. And I'm like, oh man. And to be fair, at the end of this year I will be celebrating my 40th. So that is I've dealt with it. I feel I feel proud about it, rather than I think I'm the midlife crisis has been avoided. And the truth be told, I probably feel more vital and more alive and happy within my skin than I would have, say, in my late 20s.
Wow, good on you. That's fantastic. You're certainly looking very well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now, I wanted to dig into your business a little bit, because obviously you're in business with your husband, Greg.
Yes.
And together you have this business called White Wolf Health and Fitness.
Yes.
But I'm really curious. Now, I know we've had this conversation, but it was a long time ago, so you'll forgive me for forgetting all about White Wolf. But it's a really intriguing, I guess, emblem, logo on your website, where I've been digging around. And I guess it creates some questions, some curiosity around what it represents for you, what your clients might think that it means, and so on. So can you give me a bit of an unpack on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's an interesting one because people like to create what they think it means. And sometimes
Mm.
people suggest, does it mean this or that? I'm like, actually, that's a great idea. I'll add that to my list of what it does mean.
Yeah.
But from what we originally wanted was, we could have called it, better life, or, fitness this or health that. Or but we felt like that is, used so often, what would be a little bit different and obscure. And
Mm.
white wolf, I guess, my husband is American Indian, and so we
Wow.
love that idea of, like an animal that often signifies, in American Indian culture.
Mm.
And we really loved the white wolf because of its ability to survive in like really harsh conditions, its ability, with great endurance, with, with great, like I think the jaw impact, is like, some ridiculous poundage. And so, it has all these like attributes, and it's really unique. It's a little bit more special than, say, just, your normal wolf. And
Yes.
so I think we really wanted to embrace that. And I think as it's evolved, and I've become, really more aware about presence and, unapologetically being yourself. I really love the idea of like a predator, or, something, that's wild in nature, and trying to embrace that. And so
Mm.
as a role model, I think like, hey, I'd like to, embracing me being like the mama white wolf, of being proud to be a businesswoman, or, aggressively protecting her family
Yep.
or her future. I think I really, really love that. So I
Mm.
think, the attributes as as an amazing family, creature, a hunter, a provider, and, something unique. That's what we really wanted to embrace. And,
Mm.
and because it was different, it didn't actually have the word bodybuilding or body shaping or anything like that in it. So that was the probably the motivation for it, which we've just realized I better trademark it really quickly, because there's a great nutrition company called White Wolf Nutrition, and I actually use one of their EAA supplements. So I thought, I better, we're very different, but I better make sure that we can
Yeah.
use this in the next 5 years.
Very good idea. Yeah, it's well worth doing. Yeah.
Have you trademarked your name?
I did back in 2008, but the thing is, it's one of those really common names, but they gave me the go ahead.
Wow.
I was actually doing some trademarking before I kind of got into the industry, and so I knew the process. I'd done a couple of tricky ones where they initially reject you, and you go, hang on a minute, and then you come back with more evidence, and you make a statutory declaration and a few bits and pieces, and there's one in Christchurch, there's another one in Auckland. They're all over the place. I'm like, I don't have deep enough pockets to start telling people to change their names, so.
Yeah.
Depends what you're going to do with it, because obviously when you trademark in New Zealand, that protects you only in New Zealand. You need to then do an overseas registration for different places. So, if you had big plans, then yeah, definitely worth it. But it hasn't made too much of a difference actually for me, being a small business. And there was one other Fit for Life which has closed down now in Glenfield, which is sort of next neighborhood over. And I kept getting phone calls. It was great. No.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I might have to tap your brain a little bit after,
Yeah.
because you've got way more insight than I do. But I guess, and it's like that idea of, you don't know how big you're going to be. You don't know what your vision is for the next fight. Well, I've got a pretty good vision, but to walk into that is a big step. So trademarking might be worthwhile. Just like, I guess, when a new PT is deciding, should I get GST registered? And I always think like, well, if you decide not to get GST registered, you're already telling yourself, I'm going to be a part-time PT.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I think it's those things of going, make the statement, so you can go like, okay, I'm opening the opportunity to be bigger, or to, put myself out there. If you don't do that, then you're just saying, hey, I'm happy, to be small, which is no problem. But that's saying that I'm already putting those walls up.
Absolutely, you're I couldn't agree more. It's such a little thing, isn't it? But it immediately puts this sort of this constraint in the picture, which isn't necessary. Yeah. No, I like that. One of the things that you talked about, being health coach as opposed to just PT, and that mentorship made a big difference. There was something I really enjoyed using on your website called the Health Scorer, which is an ingenious little tool, which now I've got FOMO. I want one myself, I I use a spreadsheet, which is a far less sophisticated version because people can't access it as easily. But how has that? Well, I guess first of all, what is it, and then how has that helped you? Has it helped you? And is it a cool little tool for helping people kind of go, oh yeah, this is something I need help with?
Yeah, well, I don't think I've unlocked the full potential of it yet. Mainly because I'm still trying to balance life, mumming, sporting, and doing the business. But the little that I do use it has been really powerful. Actually, probably from that mentorship, we had to go through a process, of like sort of evaluating different areas of our life. So
Yeah.
I adapted that idea and made different categories and of exercise, nutrition, sleep, mental, emotional, all of those. There's a few stress, and there's a couple of other ones that I added that I thought were quite practical.
Yeah.
And then pretty much people will go in and it's free, and they just go in and they tick where they're at. And then at the end of it, that gives them an overall score, and then it will send them an email with some tips regarding each of those categories of how they could improve a little. So it's for them, they can get it all for free. But what I've found is that it's prompted people to start thinking, and definitely there'll be people that do the health scorer, which in a few weeks will then buy a personal training session or the overview or a health coaching session off our website. So it's been in fact, the website has just been ticking along really well. It's again just evolving from a basic website to what it is now. So I think it's been amazing, but I haven't been able to invest enough time yet to the power of like SurveyMonkey and MailChimp. So MailChimp and those beautiful platforms are super powerful, because now I've got this big database of people who've done the health scorer. And so then I send them out a monthly newsletter, which I try and see what you can look at graphs of seeing like where people are at all. Is generally everyone poor at sleep, or is generally everyone got high stress numbers? And so that but so I do it at a very low level, but you can see the power of if you can use it at a higher level. And that's probably the next step of going, hey, I know I don't have all the time. Who's on my team? That's the next day of making that team a bit, more efficient. But at a practical level, it means that every new client I get, they automatically do the health scorer. So if you want to, train with us, you do the health scorer so that we actually get a printout. And so I can like look at it and say that before they've even turned up to the first session, make a few notes of what numbers are really standing out. And that way, as soon as they come in, you already know them. You're almost guaranteed that they're going to be your client, because you've done your research, you've done the background, and they've actually started thinking about, whoa, there's more. And that's the hardest thing. There's more to changing my body than working out at the gym. There's more to being happy than getting, to train 5 more times or to cut carbs from my diet. So the big picture becomes more relevant. And I think I heard one of the people you interviewed talk about meeting people where they're at. That doesn't mean that lots of people are ready for it all. Lots of people are still just, hey, no, I want to change my life with some exercise. And then you can just drop little seeds by the information that you've got on them.
That's awesome. I love it. This sounds like a very powerful tool.
Yeah, or as I'm talking about it, I've actually, and so every so often I might send a post out or something just from on Facebook to say, hey, if you've done the quiz, because even if you've done it once, you'll find if you do it a second time, your scores might be totally different because you've done a few things. So it's something that I want to put a lot more energy into. But there's, when you're doing like other bits of ongoing study, or you just, you get passion, the life gets pretty full. And and that's probably another thing we probably learned on that mentorship is balance. And personal trainers are like with the first category of people to hit that adrenal fatigue and burnout.
Yeah, absolutely right. We've got to take care of ourselves first, haven't we? It's really interesting that whole I guess clever way of funneling people into your business. And as you said, they're already almost halfway there, or they'll certainly more likely to become a client as a result of doing that health scorer. It's the questions that they didn't even know needed to be asked that kind of raises that awareness. And it looks like you've done more and more as time's gone on with your website, and you've done more activities online or provide more services online. In fact, you were doing that online thing long before COVID kind of forced the industry to do it itself anyway, weren't you? I can see you've got your space with the light there, and you've got your wolf on the wall, and you've got your tripod with your with your camera there. It's like a proper professional studio. Is that was that a deliberate thing to create that balance for you, or what drove the decision to sort of do more of that online service?
Yeah, I just, and maybe and lots of PTs, if they've been in the industry for a while, or health coaches, there is you can only do a certain amount of hours before you're fatigued or before you're burnt out. And I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe 10 years or so. And so it felt like, before children, I was doing massive hours. And that might have been the same for you, that you go, and you can, because you've just got this endless, pool of energy, but it takes its toll. So my motivation was that, hey, I want to help people, or maybe on a bigger scale, and people that may not be able to either afford coaching or personal training, or people that I don't feel comfortable in gyms, and I want to be able to do it in a way that doesn't require my, every hour equals dollars. So it was probably about 3 months after my second child, Lockie, that I started. And I'm one of these people who will learn a little bit and start it, and then hopefully fill in all the gaps on the way. And that's, I think it's kind of stressful, but it's a really good way, that otherwise nothing seems to happen. So, I did a online video course, which was probably one of the best courses I've ever done. And it's really fun about how to present to video, how to frame video, how to use, the most budget lighting setup, the most budget, microphone that's going to get you the most bang for buck, because I wasn't prepared to spend thousands of dollars. And so that was really powerful, and gave me the confidence to go, oh, well, I'm just going to start it, and we'll just, see how it goes. And the quality got better and better as I went on. But I would say it was tough. I don't, if you hear people say, would you do it? Because really I've created hundreds of videos. So these videos are, taking you like a 12-week block. From taking someone, from pretty the idea is body transformation, but really I put health videos in there as well. So again, I'm trying to sow that seed of it's more than actual exercise, but often people just want to know, hey, the 12-week challenge or the 12-week change. And so that was the sort of the draw card. And it really took a lot out of me to be filming it, and so there had to be an end point. So really people could do 6 months worth of different videos on there before they actually got to the end. So that covers strength, fitness, core, and I had diastasis after both my children. So it's really helps people really take from zero to strong with core, and helping them with things that they may not be aware of, that you don't get in, say, a fitness class. It was would I recommend other people do that? I don't know, because the time that I put in, I'm probably only just making some money off it now. So you think like that, of course there's people who are on the membership, of course there's people, it's ticking over, but all of those things that have a cost, the cost of the platform that we had to set up, that a web designer who had never designed something like that helped me set up. And so there was, there was lots of things that didn't work at first. So it took a while to get it all working. And I'm not a real technical person. So I've had to become, really, good at using technology, and that was a bit of a brain pain. And I think the product is awesome. Like when sometimes I'm like, you're not too sure, and I get feedback from people, and to make sure, what would they do differently, and that sort of thing. But when I watch the videos, I'm like, wow, they're super easy to follow. And because they're from a personal trainer and not a fitness instructor, I feel like if you were doing it from home, you're more likely to do it technically correct than you would if if you're just doing a YouTube clip. So that's what I'm really proud of, is that being able to offer like what muscle they should be firing, or how to do different little techniques. So that's there. And so then people will just sign up and go for it. And so it's a monthly $29.95. So it's not a big cost, but I guess again, it also, if people don't do that, they might start off doing the health scorer, then they might go on to that, or then they might book. And that wasn't the motivation for them to book one-on-one sessions, because we're trying to do less of that. But that seems to be what has happened, is that lots of people have gone and done it, and then come and done online coaching or in-person coaching.
Okay. And that's amazing. Thank you. I'm going to need to grab that video course details off you if you're happy to share.
Yeah, totally. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I do have it written down. It was on Udemy. If you use that platform,
What was it?
Udemy. It's like
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a coaching, well, a platform where you can do courses on anything. And it was this
Yeah.
incredible, incredible video course. And if some courses are boring, this one's fun.
Cool. Yeah, I've done one on there. I did a testosterone course actually on
Oh,
Udemy. Yeah.
great.
Yeah, slightly different. Right.
Slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know it. So that's interesting. Interesting very much in terms of that shift. I guess there's when you're changing stuff that big, there's always the upfront work, but then it pays off over time, doesn't it? I mean, that's the whole thing with leveraged work.
Yeah, well, there's that, but I think something that I did that was a lot easier, and this was over COVID, was create a cookbook. And that, is only, and so even though it could retail at say $29.95, I sell it relatively cheaply as an online copy. And that's been really, cookbooks are really easy to sell, because I'm probably just as passionate about the nutrition as, changing people's life as I am about any other part. So that was probably the one that was kind of fun. And it's, a lot of time testing and making recipes, but that was probably when I think of an easier win.
Yeah,
I probably should have started there, but that was an easier win than doing hundreds of fitness videos. And at a time I thought it was really awesome, like I was getting members, and I thought, awesome, COVID hitting, and I've actually completed this thing before everyone's homebound. So that stirred up quite a lot of people to start on. But then all of a sudden, those big, huge, Les Mills and all that sort of unleashed free stuff. So it kind of plateaued, and so it was good timing and bad timing in the fact that people with more resources than myself could jump on there really quickly.
Yeah. Okay, that's good advice. And I think having some of that collateral that you've got. And of course, once you've done it, it'll be there forever and a day. You can remarket the same thing again and again, can't you? So, you're always going to come up against competitive activity, but it's what you do about it and how you remarket it again and again is probably where the benefit then comes. So you were doing some time with City Fitness. I think you said you still got a little bit of time with City Fitness, but you were kind of doing more like the pre-kids, I guess, majority of your hours or all of your hours working from a City Fitness base.
Yeah, so I worked in Blenheim actually, so the Blenheim City Fitness, and I was full time there. That was when it was an employed model, so it was quite a different setup. And so I was really fortunate to be given an opportunity to be under the mentorship of a guy called Rick White. And the year that I won that personal trainer of the year, he won mentor of the year. So it was, I was very lucky that he invested time into me. That first year. I think that was probably, we think of turning points, that was another really lucky opportunity for me. And so City Fitness gave me a lot at the beginning of my career in terms of like really simple courses for someone who was pretty green. And when I think about that 2013 and winning that award, I'm like, how the heck did that happen? I was very naive, super enthusiastic, knew tiny bits about corrective exercise and actual programming, and somehow just put it all together on the day. And you think like the person or the trainer that I am now is totally different. And so I think they were all just sort of very very lucky opportunities and a lot of support from City Fitness at that time. It's progressed from then to when my husband started to be a personal trainer, which was a few years later. That we became self-employed. And so that was a bit, scary for a lot of people, because they, they liked the idea that someone was going to be paying them, even if they're taking a cut. But I've loved being self-employed. I'd never go back to being employed again. I love the freedom of, choosing when we, as an athlete, taking, time off when I need to for, tournaments. I love being able to take my children, away when I want. I love being not accountable to anybody but Greg and I, and we have high standards. So if you're accountable to that, that's awesome. I'd love some more public holidays, because you might do the same, is that everyone wants to work. I do work some public holidays, and I don't mind that because I take time off other places. But now, and so COVID was a real blessing in disguise. We had always pondered, and I know you have your business is all run from home, correct?
Yep, that's right.
And so we were able to convert our garage into a studio during that COVID time. We were very lucky to get hold of equipment. How equipment was flying out the doors So we were very lucky to get, some really good equipment. So I do 4 days from the studio now,
Right.
and 1 day still at City Fitness. And that's where I sort of, that day is the day I jam pack all of the people that, are placed in the middle of town.
Yeah.
So I still really value, City Fitness, but and I value, because we lease the space there, and we, they've done a lot for me and my husband in the past. And so but I love the fact of working for the studio. It heads in the direction of the philosophy that we want in the future.
Yeah, love it. That's great. So so where do you see it going? What's the, you talked about maybe having a 5-year thing a moment ago. What's the where do you see it going? What's the sort of, is there an end goal, or is it just always evolving?
It's evolving, and it's almost, I don't like being vulnerable, but that's one of the things, you probably learn, as you're a coach, that if you being vulnerability is a strength. So being vulnerable and telling you what we plan in 5 years is a little bit scary, but I'll share it with you anyway.
Okay.
So, and it's interesting. I have a client who actually challenged me on where and then that's the great thing about your client is that they've got such a broad spectrum of people that you get richness and wisdom from all these different people that you coach. And one of them challenged me of, where we see ourselves in 5 years and say, hey, you do things really differently. New Plymouth is relatively small compared to where you are. So the way we operate is quite different to most people. So, and he challenged me, what are you going to do in 5 years? And so he's a big thinker. So he actually did a session with me of planning, because he's planning what we could do for our mission statement, where we'll be in 5 years, and to be big and dream. So, in my imagination of how it would be is that I'd love to have and this will be 5 to 6 years time, the White Wolf Health Club. But this club would be a little bit different in the fact that, that all the things we've learned over time about, say, cold water therapy. So, have an ice bath in there, and from, red light saunas, and from, even the things that I think you sell, the red blue light blocking glasses. And so I use those as well. And so, every hack that there is, and everything, like and having a cafe in it that does, if that might be, say, if a guy was trying to build his testosterone levels, and say, this is your smoothie, or these are your supplements for the next 6 months, or so really taking the client journey to the maximum. So they might come in and get trained by us or someone else, and then they might finish it off with, say, 2 minutes in the ice bath, followed up by a sauna, or it could be lying on a Shakti mat, or it could be all these different things, or grounding. So applying what we know is the big picture, the ultimate experience, the place where you want to linger and hang out and meet people that are of like mind, that want better for their lives. That would be the ultimate of going, this club is where I would want people to dwell and want to be there for a long time, to go and be there as long-term people, will be in a place like this is where real health happens, and so, and real fitness, and real real community. Because that's, now that I'm a mum, you forget family, community, connection, networking, and all that become really big picture stuff. And so that would be the ultimate dream for me.
Awesome. That sounds quite exciting. I want to come and visit already.
You'd be the first on the list then.
I'll be there. I'll cut the ribbon. I see there's a surfboard out. Is that your do you use the surfboard for downtime? Is that your chill out activity?
Well, I actually, my husband has had triple knee surgery. So we do a lot of boogie boarding, and that's probably one of my, I love it. We're the geeks of the ocean, and I'm okay with that. But the ocean is probably, being in Blenheim, that was the only thing that was missing, is that I've always lived on a coastline, so I'm really connected to the ocean. So coming up here and being, so we do, definitely my happy place is to be, even in the middle of the winter, is to be in the ocean, boogie boarding if we can. But the surfboard is because Greg's rehabbed quite well, so he's about to try and get back into surfing. And actually that's a good point. We surfed together. It was
yes, of course.
Yes.
Was it
I think we were the only two to get up on a board, weren't we?
Now you're talking. Did we go to Noosa for that?
We did.
Yeah. That was awesome. Yes.
That was probably one of my first actual surfing experiences. So I'm average at a surfer, but I think I'm fancy as a boogie boarder.
Okay, yeah, no, I love it too. There's something doesn't matter whether it's summer or winter. Like there's just something magical about the ocean, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's the big thing of like, grounding, there's power in grounding to the earth and, that's the thing. But apparently, the ocean being this giant body of water and the ions and that, it grounds you even better. So maybe it's that, innate connection to earth that we have.
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's around this sort of time that I start picking people's brains for, tips and tricks and, their wisdom so that can be shared amongst the listeners. And it's great, everybody has something slightly different, and there are always some themes as well. It's good. It's a good combination. What would you say has been, the recipe for success for you guys at White Wolf, or or things that you've observed in the industry as well, in terms of sort of getting into the industry but staying in and being successful? Because obviously you've done it for a long time. You've won an award, so there's got to be some things you're doing right. Okay, so what? How would you condense that down, in terms of a message of experience and tips?
Great question. There's so many, but if I had to make it a bit more simple, I think there was a book that I read not too far before COVID called High Performance Habits. It's by a man called Brendon Burchard, I think is the pronunciation. And it's over the top. It's really American, but I don't mind that. So it really challenged me to, on all different things like your clarity, your energy, your necessity, your courage, your influence, and your productivity. And I think that one of the big things that came from there is the idea of role modeling. And if you're, to be successful in this industry, I think you've got to walk every day like, what am I role modeling? Get really clear about it. So in my head, I'm like, okay, what does an amazing business woman look like? What does a great mum look like? What does a great wife and a great trainer behave like? And so I think that when I go into the gym, because there's a lot of trainers around, and some of them have like might be just really lack of confidence. You can see it in their posture. You can see or just the little things. I think that if you see yourself as a role model and get really clear about what that means, and then you go like, hey, then it's really important that I take care of my health. It's really important that when I'm going to the supermarket, that I'm not scrolling up and down the Bicky aisle, even if I want to be, because in this small town, everybody's looking in my supermarket trolley, totally. But so if you're a PT in the industry and you're just graduated, you've got to be like, well, it's a competitive industry of going like, well, I need to really be excellent at everything I do, whether it be like, hey, I put some product in my hair today, or all of those little things become really, really important. And so we talk about it a lot, my husband and I, and we're really lucky because we can use each other as a bounce board to go, be really clear about how did we dictate ourselves today, how did we help someone. So I make sure that if I think that sleep is the most important thing for everybody, which I do, then I go to the extreme and go like, well, what shows that? And so I don't know if you've got one of these, an Oura ring.
I was going to bring that up. Yes, I do.
And I think that was life, and we've had heaps of clients that take that on board. So if you believe something and you're going to try and say if you believe that you want to change someone's life through this, you better be doing that to the nth degree. And so that's really what we, if I say, hey, cold water therapy is going to improve your immunity and help you, against COVID, for instance, or I think it's going to make you leaner and lose visceral fat, and I'm not even doing ice baths, then what is that? So I think that whatever you preach, you need to be really making sure that, hey, you do that like something like a crazy person, really. So that would be the main, there's hundreds of things, but if I could give one nugget, that would be like to anyone who's aspiring to go like, all right, get really clear, whatever you preach, you better be really doing it.
I like it. That's fantastic. And yes, I do love the Oura ring. It's an amazing tool. Now I'm lazy in that I don't wear mine during the day.
Oh, really?
I was just too precious about walking around with it, thinking, what if it slips off? What if something happens to it? What if it bashes into my wedding ring? And And so, no, I only use it as a sleep tool rather than an entire day measurement.
Yep.
I mean, I probably need to, and I might do that if I go on holiday or something.
I think it does affect, like, because your activity score, which is, you know, what you do in the day, will affect your overall readiness and sleep score. But
Yeah.
I use it not only for the sleep, which has been dramatically different in what, you know, and what I've been able to achieve, you know, sleep and recovery wise,
Yeah.
but as a sports performance tool.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important to have it on for activity, so that when you know, I remember in one of my tournaments, it gave me like this, you know, it gives you a score out of 100. It gave me the score of like close to 50, because I'd obviously, you know, worked way too hard. And really, that would say, you do not train today. You rest and recover.
Yeah.
However, it's a tournament, so you have to play.
Yeah.
But it gives you it's such an amazing tool to time, you know, when am I going to hit a big run, or where am I going to lift heavy weights, or when am I going to go, hey, today is a breathing, you know, or recovery day. And so I've got a lot of clients who use it, and I make sure they're using it in a lot. I mean, like a handful, because some people don't want to spend $500 on an Oura ring.
Yeah.
Although the tax rules have changed, I see, which means that if you are going to get it, you're not going to get slammed with any import tax, which is great. Every single client we've had have one dramatic results. Like, I cannot believe, like, some of them, how amazing, like even their drop in visceral fat or their weight loss has been so much more powerful. We're not really doing anything more different, except they've got this extra accountability, and they've got a bigger understanding of what sleep and recovery actually means.
Yeah. It's powerful. Excuse me, phone ringer. I should have silenced that. Yeah, it is an amazing tool, and yeah, I've seen dramatic change in terms of my sleep. I was kind of teetering on the 7 and below 7 pretty often, and now it's more like knocking on the door of 8. You know, that just phenomenally impactful. Yeah, so I'll put that in the notes as well, and I'll also put the that video course in the notes, so that people can go and have a look for those things if they're not familiar. Brilliant. That's been a really good catch up. I've so enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise. And I wanted to ask you, because I remember when I first talked to you, operating from home, are you still doing that? Or are you still doing, because I know you're doing podcasts, and I know you're working a lot with Dave Leo, and you're running a mentorship.
That's right. Yeah. We're doing the mentorships in New Zealand now. Yeah.
Yes. And it's coming around town very shortly.
That's right. There's a road show coming up at the end of the month. So he'll be doing Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Hawke's Bay. Yeah.
Will you be there?
I'll be at the Auckland one, but I won't be traveling. No, he's doing the traveling. He's kind of combining it with a bit of a family holiday as well. Yeah.
Clever man.
Anyway, awesome to catch up. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
Likewise, Rich. Awesome to talk to you.
Cheers.